But what an amazing guest we have in the house today. We have one of the most intelligent coaches of all time in the combat sports.
You have to believe you're going to be a champion before you're a champion. When I'd ask athletes, I'd ask them, you want to be a world champion? They always would say yes. And I'd always ask them why. It's how they answer that. Then I'd ask, do they believe they'll be a world champion? And you could just feel it. You could feel the energy. You can feel the aura. You could see the way they respond to it.
He's the founder of Onyx Sports. He is also a 3-time Sean Tompkins Coach of the Year. He's coached over 20 world champions.
I've only had one fight where I didn't feel any nerves and it scared me. Justin's last fight against Fiziev. It was just weird. I was like, man, I'm so calm. I want my fighters to be scared. It's like if you watch George St. Pierre, one of the guys who would talk about his fear. I never do this again, never. I hate this shit. But he'll go out there and run to the cage and then go out there and perform. And fear is a great thing. There's no better moment than having that feeling, because when you get in that octagon, you are in that octagon present, and there's no better feeling. That's living when you can be present.
Let's say what's up to Trevor Wittman.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the last show I did, and it's really cool to be back with you guys.
Awesome. Now this time we're in Vegas. We went to Boulder last time, but now we're here.
You're in our territory now. But off the top, I do have to ask one question. 20 champions. You've been with them during the good days, the bad days. Yep. What is one thing that you see in a fighter that makes him like championship caliber? Is it a mindset, or what is it?
It's definitely a mindset. Mindset. You have to believe you're going to be a champion before you're a champion, and that's the key. And when I was running gyms there for a while, I ran 7 different gyms over 20 years. And when I'd ask athletes, what do you want to do? What's your target? And even if they didn't say, hey, I'm trying to be a world champion, I'm just trying to be a good professional, I'd ask them, you want to be a world champion? And that, they always would say yes. And I'd always ask them why. And it's how they answer that. And then I'd ask, do they believe they'll be a world champion? And you could just feel it. You could feel the energy. You can feel the aura. You could see the way they respond to it. It's a lot like a question I ask pretty much every fighter. It's you get into fighting, you're like, man, I hope I go out there. I hope I win. It becomes this thing where you start to overthink all the processes. And I'll ask this very hard question, but I think it's a simple question to answer, is if someone was going to be breaking in your house and attack your family, would you win that fight? And they always answer yes. And that's the type of I've never had someone say no, and I've never had someone pop up at their seat just be like, absolutely, I'd win that fight, because you're protecting something. It's real. And that's what fighting is. Fighting is real. It's if someone was breaking into my house, I'm going to assess the situation, whether they have a knife, and I'm going to stay distance and kind of feel it out. Do they have a gun? Do I need to close the gap? When fighters can get in that mode, just understand they need to do the work. Just do what you have to do to prepare for a fight, and don't overthink the other things. If someone breaks in my house, I'm not thinking, oh man, is he a 155 or does he, has he got a jiu-jitsu background? No, it's task at hand, and it's in the moment. So those type of questions that I ask, I can always feel when someone really believes they're going to be a champion. I've had champions who didn't believe they're going to be a champion, and then they had the moment when they decided they were going to be a champion, like Shane Carwin. Shane Carwin, I would ask him that question, you're going to be a champion? And he's like, oh, coach, maybe someday, you'd answer. And then after we fought Gonzaga, he said, coach, I'm ready to be a champion. And then like 4 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, we got the call, because Brock Lesnar had the intestinal issue that he had. Yeah. And then it's crazy how that fight just popped up. And then he went out. We had all sorts of health issues through that camp. He couldn't do. We only had 2 weeks to train. He had a hand issue from the fight before that. Really? And when we were at fight week, it was crazy. He had something going on in the stem of his neck that they seen in the CAT scan. So he's like, oh, man, I'm an engineer. He was eating nachos. I can remember we were eating nachos. He's having a beer, and it's like 3 days out from the fight. And he's like, I got to go get scans all day today to make sure I can even fight. Like, we didn't know if we were going to fight. And he went out there and just dominated Mir. And it was one of the coolest experiences. But that type of mentality is just so important when it becomes a champion. And I'm very, very big in the mindset. You have to believe, you have to see it before you have it. And it's like Picasso. Picasso would paint a picture, and he can explain, hey, this is what I'm going to paint. But no one can see what he's seeing and what he's going to paint. And then when they paint it, they're like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. You have to see what you're going to have before you have it. It's so important.
Absolutely. And the importance of visualization.
Yep.
It makes everything.
Absolutely.
If you go in a fight visualizing what you're going to do, and you visualize that moment, that feeling,
The feeling.
You go out there and it's second nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And it never goes the way, like everybody has to have a plan. It never goes the way that you think, but you have to really dial in and know that you're going to feel that weight of that belt. Smell
Absolutely.
the leather. I'm very big into that type of stuff.
Absolutely. And even asking Gaethje, for example, just questions to keep the mind going, because, you get out there in a fight and you get hit, then everything goes out the window.
Absolutely.
And it's just all instincts.
Yep.
So it's cool to see an amazing coach like you just make sure that they stay in the present.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And it's 26 world titles.
26.
Yep.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm proud of that.
Proud of that.
I'm proud of that. And that's in
amazing
boxing, mixed
accomplishment.
martial arts, and also kickboxing. So
wow.
super cool.
Incredible.
Wow.
I'm proud of that.
Maybe a bare knuckle champion one day.
Yeah, I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I like I went to an event. It was actually way better to watch live. The event was just was cool, but the damage there was Josh Copeland fought on the card who I knew. And the damage he took, it's very hard. And it's also something you got to do at the end of your career, just the hand damage. Like man,
absolutely. Even the face damage. You see these guys, they're fighting like once a year.
Absolutely.
If that, maybe once
the
every other
lacerations
year.
and all those things. I mean, it's cool that they're out doing it. And I love all the combative sports. But I don't know if I'll get into that. That's very hard and long on your life.
Yeah.
And I worry about the hands too.
The hands.
I mean,
my hands
fighters
hurt so
break
bad.
their hands enough anyways,
Yeah.
with gloves, without gloves.
Absolutely.
Like,
and you're hitting a bowling ball.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I mean, if you're going to get into a strategy of bare knuckle fighting, you have to be super accurate. And it's really cool to see some guys that could be so successful in the bare knuckle and not in
Mike
MMA.
Perry.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have to know where to hit and be very precise with that. And you can't be throwing big overhands and hitting the top of the head. So it is definitely a cool sport.
Oh, yeah. It's all strategy at the end of the day. But it's time to get into our first question of the Burn or Chill segment. This is honestly leading me right into our first question. So you either got to burn this one or chill it. Burn is good. Chill is, I'm going to chill on it. Burn or chill that feeling of coaching a world title fight. Is it just...
Burn, definitely burn.
Burn it?
That's why I do this. I do this for world champions. Like my goal when I was fighting, that was my goal to have world champions. And I remember getting my first belt, and it was in boxing. In boxing, I used to just look at the TV and be like, look at that belt, it looks so beautiful. And I remember getting our first belt, our IBF, and with Verno Phillips. And I remember looking at the belt when we got it back to the locker room. I was like, "Oh, can I hold it?" And I looked at it and I was like, "Damn, there's a ruby missing." It just looks. That was not what I expected, and I was like, "All right, we got to go to WBA now. That's a nice looking belt." I was on to the next, but I live for champions. Like I just think anything in life that you do, you have to do it to the fullest, and that's how I've been as a coach. That's how I was when I ran gyms. I want to have the number one gym. I want to be the best coach. I always want to be at the highest level, and it just if you're not shooting for the stars, what are you shooting for? So I'm big on targets. You got to have a target. So the championship fighting as a coach is what I live for. And anybody that I work with now, if they don't want to be a champion, I really pick and choose now because it's not my business. Onyx, we have this facility that's just private for the 3 people that I train. And I used to train teams of 40 pros. So having, being able to pick and choose, I'm picking the guys that I believe will be champion because of their mindsets.
Wow.
So definitely a burn.
Yeah. I figure you're going to burn. I mean, who wouldn't want to coach a world title fight? But is it hard to almost kind of bring the title fight down? You know how sometimes people get too amped up for a title fight compared to like a regular fight, contender fight. Do you tell the guys in the back, hey, like calm down, like this is just another fight, or like what's like the mindset back
so
there?
It's one of those things that it's one. I'll use a couple examples. So when you become champion, you're the same person when you get done. It's you have to walk the champion before you become a champion. You have to believe you're a champion. You have to walk like a champion. You have to be that character prior to becoming champion, because if you're not, it gets to your head and you become big-headed, and all of a sudden you're not going to hold that belt for a long period of time, and it'll change you. So it's absolutely just another fight, and I do talk about that all the time. And obviously, when you're fighting for a world championship, it's a 5-round fight, and obviously you probably had a few 5-round fights prior to that. So it is just another fight. But the cool fights are like the fight that we have this weekend with Merab. right now he's the unbeatable, and I guarantee you we're going to be a big underdog. So those are the fights I get up for, like the Rose against Joanna. My favorite part about that fight is not knocking Joanna out. It was the second fight when we went the distance. We did it both ways.
Beat her again,
Same thing when Rose fought Wei Li, and we knocked her out, and then we got a rematch, and then we went out and beat her all 5 rounds. So that's the premise of being a champion is it's not a one-time shot. It's not luck. It's what you put in your mind, and you do the unthinkable. And that's whether it's a championship fight or you're beating someone who's unbeatable, that's the meaning of being a high-level championship fighter, and that's what I live for.
That's awesome. And doing the little things, too.
Yep.
Outside of just
Absolutely.
camps, dieting, training, making sure your weight's good.
Yep.
Well, you said walk like a champion. I love that. I love that.
It's true, because sometimes people are like on the lower level, and then all of a sudden, they are a champion, and they got the money, and they get the media and all that stuff, and then that's what you said, they lose the belt. But for you have a fighter fighting for a championship, like you said. How are you now? Like the day before, are you kind of relaxed or chill?
Great.
Or
I love this. This is what I live for. Pretty much probably tomorrow I'll wake up and I don't drink coffee. I'll feel like I drink coffee. I'll get the jitters and little upset stomach. And that's natural. If I don't feel that, it's weird.
Nervous?
I've only had one fight where I didn't feel any nerves, and it scared me. And that was Justin's last fight against Fiziev. And it was just weird. I was like, man, I'm so calm. And it was weird. And I didn't overthink it, because sometimes you can start overthinking.
Yeah, you're like, why do I feel
Because
like
I want
this?
my fighters to have fear. I want my fighters to be scared. It's like if you watch George St. Pierre, he was one of the guys who would talk about his fear. I never do this again. Never. Why sign contract? I hate this shit. But he'll go out there and run to the cage and then go out there and perform. And fear is a great thing. Like with the Rose fight where Joanna was bullying her and, saying all these things. I'm the boogie woman, and doing all these things, and the bus attack. Like all the stuff that happened up to that fight created so much fear for Rose, and Rose performs so well when she has that fear. So having that fight with Justin when I didn't feel it, I didn't overthink it. He went out there and performed. I was just kind of proof that don't kind of play into those things. Every time is different, but I am used to waking up and going, holy shit, it's here. And it's an exciting feeling. I talk to my fighters a lot about it. This is where you live. There's no better moment than having that feeling, because when you get in that octagon, there's no place that you're going to be more present than when you're in there. You're not thinking about your bills. You're not thinking about what's going on the outside, any type of issues you have on the outside. You are in that octagon present, and there's no better feeling. That's living when you can be present.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that.
I'm going to have to burn that statement right there. But it's time to go to question number 2. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this one. Same style. You just got to burn or chill it.
Absolutely.
Do you burn or chill the current UFC gloves?
Chill.
Not the
Chill.
the old, but now they brought him back.
Chill.
Chill.
Yeah, I think the UFC did a great job on trying to make the glove. Like, we spent 2 years with them, and we signed it. Or we spent 2 years with them. 3 years after we went in with a 5-year NDA, and they asked us to make it a 3-year NDA. And they came out and they did their homework. They took their notes, And I'm an open guy. I speak a lot, and that's why I don't do a lot of interviews, because I'm very open. I like to share things. I'm not scared to
tell
share
it how
things.
it is.
I like to tell it how it is, and they did a great job of taking notes on what needs to be changed. And they got a really high level tech company to try to do kind of what I was doing. But I don't think they understand the issues like I understand the issues, and the fighters understand the issues, because they don't deal with what goes on prior to getting there, and your hands are falling asleep and the things like that. But I'm cool with it. At least they tried, and at least they wanted to help that issue. And it is what it is, and that made me feel really cool that I was able to spark something in the industry of what we're doing. That that definitely needs to be a shift in not only the fight glove. I didn't get into Onyx 4 fight glove. I got into Onyx 4 training gear because of the injuries that I see on the training floor. So I thought it was really cool, and I was very proud of the UFC doing that. And when I found out that they made a new glove, I actually got a new patent I was going to bring to Dana, and found out that week. And seeing Ember there, who was there, and came out, was super nice to me. It was cool to see Ember. And I was like, oh, she's being super, super nice to me, Then when they came out, the marketing on the gloves, the little commercial they did, was everything we spoke about. I even talked about the gold logo on the gloves. They ended up doing the gold gloves. So it was cool. So they respected the way I was thinking about it. And they went out and did it. So I think it was super cool. And, the gloves can always change, but right now it is what it is, and they're a big company and they tested something and it didn't work. So it is what it is. I think the timing will be right at a certain point.
Absolutely.
But right now they're an entertainment company and they put on the best fights. So just being a part of that process is really cool, and I look forward to having more processes like that.
And I think they will. I have a feeling that they will.
Absolutely.
Maybe later in the future.
And we're doing a lot of testing on it outside, so I can actually prove things.
Oh, nice.
Because that's the thing, is you want to prove it, but you also want to make the fighters. You want to have the fighters make that decision. I don't want to go out there because there's many things that I have went out and, man, this is amazing, and you go out and test it, and some people just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
And change is hard for anybody. So that's one of those things that I would rather go out there, have guys train with them, test them out, try them on smaller shows, see how they work, and build from that. Because I think if I can slowly shift that, I think it's going to feel better for everybody.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yep. And, timing's everything. Time's not right now. Yep. But maybe in the future.
Absolutely.
But it's time to go to our question number 3. Trevor, if I'm not mistaken, you started off boxing, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
So burn or chill the statement, Dana White coming to boxing.
I'm going to say mostly burn. Okay, mostly burn. I like it. I think a competitive world in all combative sports of good promoters coming out and promoting. I think Dana is the best promoter in the world when it comes to combative sports. Does he fit in the boxing space? I think he does. He came from the boxing world. I think there's a shift that's gonna have to happen. I mean, what better way to do it with Crawford and Canelo? Yeah. There's no better way. But you could really see the uncomfortable ways, like with John Anik, speaking afterwards, and the boxing commentators.
Yeah,
are like,
they
hey,
weren't
you're
even
coming
looking
to my space.
at him. Yeah.
And the cool thing about cultures, they're culture sports. Even though we're all doing the same thing, we're all fighting. They're culture sports. Boxing. A lot of times you're coming from the streets and changing your life. It's a very different environment. That the way that you come out, your outfits look. They're very flashy. They're very. And then you look at MMA, and it's more like the people that didn't need to fight, but they want to fight just because they love to fight.
Yeah.
Coming from a martial arts background, so they're just different cultures. I put it together like this. It's like snowboarding compared to skiing. They both do the same thing, but they still kind of click against each other.
Yeah.
If you're a skier, you're not a snowboarder. If you're a snowboarder, you're not a skier. And it's like you ride the chairlift, and the conversation's a little different. It's when you try to mix them, and it's the same thing even with the board sports. You look at it, snowboarding is different than surfing.
Yeah.
Surfing is different than skating. But if I'm a skateboarder and I go to a place where the roads are roughed up and there's potholes everywhere, but there's waves, I might try surfing. And I'm going to talk a little different. I'm going to dress a little different, but it's a different culture, even though they fit together. And I think finding that culture is what Dana's going to have to do to really make his way in that sport. And I think it'd be a great fit. My only concern is the little piece with the Muhammad Ali Act. I think that's a big change for going into the boxing world, because that's something that really helped protect boxers and make the amount of money. But there's also this thing that everybody thinks that boxers make more than MMA fighters, and I've lived in both scenes at the highest level. The 1%ers in boxing make a shitload of fucking money. They really do. When it comes to MMA and the high level fighters that aren't stars, like I had Verno Phillips, we fought Paul Williams, like we weren't making anywhere near Canelo money, but we're main eventing HBOs and main eventing Showtime cards. So MMA fighters make really good money. They really do. And the model that Dana has is like with bonuses and the show and win monies, like that's really cool. It really makes people fight. And I like the way that Dana does that. I mean, if you pay a McGregor the amount of money that he made, why does he have to come back to fighting? So he's very good in those areas. You pay a high level a boxer a lot of money, they're going to come back and fight because they're supporting where they came from, and they come from the streets. So they're buying their family houses. They're doing things different. So it's just a culture, and I think he'll figure that out. I really do. So I would say that's a mostly burn with a little bit of chill. Like take your time in the right way and do it the right way. He's got his partner. I forget what his name is.
It's just guy from Saudi.
You can see the change. It's upsetting a lot of people, but it's also going to get a lot of opportunities to a lot of people to be on the show. And the one thing that the UFC does better than any promoter out there is they brand you.
Yeah.
And when I talk to fighters fighting in Bellator compared to UFC, you want to get to the UFC because when you're done fighting in the UFC, you have a brand. You have something. If I open a gym and I fought in the UFC compared to opening a gym and I fought at a high level at Bellator, people are going to know who I am if I fought in the UFC. So from a leveraging standpoint and leveraging what you're going to do, that's a key component. The UFC is the best at marketing their people and building brands.
Yeah, and telling stories too. That's the biggest thing. they humanize fighters, because a
Absolutely.
lot of times they're kind of put on this pedestal of almost, you guys are prize fighters, things like that. But you're people too. You have families. You have a personal brand. So I think it's good that they build them. And back to the boxing, I think it's good for people who do fight in Top Rank or DAZN or Netflix. They can leverage their deals with them to say, hey, Dana White's coming here over in Zuffa Boxing. Why would I not go over there? Like you said, the money's probably going to be better. It's going to be more spread out, like the UFC is. It's not going to be Canelo making $36 million and the co-main event's making $10,000. So
and
it's
the one piece that really stands out to me, especially coming from the boxing world, is the amount of promoters that you have and the amount of sanctioning bodies for belts. Dana White will make the best fights. He's the one thing I loved about the UFC is like, when you climb the ladder, you fight who's next. You don't get to choose. You're not protected by your promoter. And if I'm a top rank fighter and I need to go fight on a Don King card, they will protect. There's little things that's trying to protect to get the right guy to keep this guy winning. And super fights are great, and you always see great fights and great matchups in the UFC, and that's one thing that I really do love about the UFC.
The best fight the best.
Yep. Absolutely.
Not saying in boxing too, because now we're starting to see a little bit of the best fight the best now with Canelo and Crawford. But how hard was it making that transition to MMA from the boxing world? Was it tough?
So it wasn't tough for me because when I was a child, I wanted to be a ninja.
Yeah.
And then I was in Kempo karate, and I wanted my parents to send me to Japan. Like when I was younger, I was bullied, and I went into a karate and I learned karate, and I got really good at point fighting. And when I walked into a boxing gym, I got my ass kicked, cried the whole way when I left. It was I remember the time, cars going by, and I'm like, popping up, and then they go by and I cry. And I didn't go back to the one of my friends brought me in, and it was funny because the guy asked me, hey, do you want to do some sparring? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do some sparring. He's like, all right, go get this sign from your parents. And when I went back and I told him I did karate, and he kind of giggled, and I was like, why'd he giggle? And then when I put on the headgear, I remember my headgear getting turned sideways. I'm looking through the ear hole, and he called time, and I was getting my ass whooped up against the ropes. I landed the first punch. This little dude just whooped my butt, and then he called time, and I thought he was going to turn my headgear back because he grabbed my headgear, and he started taking my headgear off, and he said, stick to karate. That's what he told me. And it was just like one of those things that broke my heart because, I was becoming very good at karate. And I went and sat home for a couple months and was depressed because this was like a passion of mine. Like, again, I wanted to be a ninja. And then I went back to the boxing gym, and I fell in love with combat. Boxing is combat. It is the most brutal combat. Like it's you can't explain it. You just got to be willing to be in a storm when you learn how to box. And I fell in love with it. And then the transition when I started with Dwayne Ludwig, he was going to be fighting Jens Pulver, the 4-time world champion in UFC. And Dwayne came to me. He was a high-level kickboxer, and Jens Pulver was a boxer. And he came to me, and I got to see him fight Jens Pulver. We stopped him in the first round. Then we got to go to Japan and fight in K1, and K1 was just amazing. I was blown away by the boxing skills that these kickboxers had, which I just didn't see in America. So I was like down on kickboxing. I was like, man, anybody would be a kickboxer. Going over to Tokyo and seeing that was amazing. So the transition, I was always a martial artist. And then it was just, it took me probably 3 to 4 years to really understand the range difference. And then just the difference of level changes and people attacking your hips and the low kicks. So, and I was very big in different positions, like front leg. Sometimes you want to be heavy. Sometimes you're on the rear foot and scooting in and pressuring. So I was always good with like changing styles up. So I was able to make the adjustment pretty easy. And man, I critique everything, so the adjustment was good.
And think about all the knowledge you gain.
Yeah, absolutely.
From both sides of the sports, and even going overseas.
Totally, I just still love the sweet science though. Like watching Crawford and Canelo. Like we had talked about the fight prior, and I was just like, man, people are sleeping on Crawford. Yeah, Crawford is one of those guys that he's been so dominant. And he doesn't put himself against the ropes, which Canelo needs. Canelo's a lot more of a flat-footed fighter, more on the rear leg, stands up, very good body shots, but Crawford is one of those sharpshooters, got very good range for his size, and he's going to bring his speed with him.
He was fast,
and it's amazing. And and I think Canelo fought a very good fight too. I just felt like he was going to outsize him and was going to be able to press him. Yeah. And if Canelo gets anybody against the ropes, he's going to break him down. But it was amazing to see Crawford go out there and do the things, and that's the sweet science. Those are the little things that it's hard for a lot of people to see. It was amazing. And again, I tip my hat to both of those guys. It was an amazing fight.
Yeah,
it was a great fight.
Back to what we were saying about Dana White putting it together. Hopefully it's the start of something great. Obviously, burning it, it's good for the sport. chilling on the act a little bit. That's for another time. But it's time to go to our fourth question. This one, you same style. You just got to burn it or chill it. Do you burn or chill having to corner 2 fighters in the same night? Because you had to do that with Justin and Rose one time.
Burn it. It's the most challenging.
It?
Yeah, it's the most challenging thing I've ever dealt with. I had Justin, Rose, and Kamaru all fight on.
All 3. That's right.
In New York, and man, one thing I was so beat up during camp because I just turned 50 on Saturday, and that was like 3 years ago, and man, I was so beat up. My lower back was so bad. The stress of that fight because they were such high level. We had Kamaru, then it was Rose as a co-main event. Justin was right before them. Luckily, Dana, I had asked if we can get a separation because I'm gonna be wrapping all their hands, and I want to make sure that I'm watching everybody's mental state back in the locker room. He made it to the opening fight on the main card, and it's scary. And sometimes it doesn't go that way. With Rose and Justin in Arizona, they both lost on the same card. It is a challenge, but I love challenges, and I think it's really good. Sometimes you can really carry your teammates when you get that momentum, and that momentum is a huge thing in the sport. But I think it's a challenge, but I think it's great. I think it's very good to be able to go out there because you have to be able to adjust. The hardest part to that is how do you carry the energy into the next fight? And I remember with the Rose fight in Arizona, I got so upset with that performance in that fight. That I was just bothered. I just felt like Rose was way better than Carla Esparza, and I remember telling her, "You got to be ready for the press," because she was out there like shadow boxing and just like looking like she just wanted to get through. And there was some things said back in the locker room that I didn't agree with. And then Justin, right before we walked out, and Justin's like, he looked at me, he's like, "Coach, don't worry, I ain't gonna fight like a bitch." And he said that, and I should have caught on to it. I did catch on to the energy, and he caught my energy. And he went out there and fought like a maniac. And I did. This is a unique thing that no one knows about. Is right after the fight, Justin had got stopped, and I was so upset. Like he did a 360. He threw a hook so hard he turned a 360, and I'm telling him, bring it back. But the crowd was so loud. Yeah. And when I got up into on the side of the octagon because they wouldn't let us in, Justin comes over to the corner, and I asked him, I was like, "Are you all right?" And he looked at me, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm good, coach." And I was like, "What the fuck were you doing?" And then he's like, "What'd I do?" And I felt so bad right as I said it, but I was just such in the heat of the moment.
You're in the moment.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about it afterwards, and I apologized. I was like, I'm just in the heat of the moment, but you're fighting like a fucking maniac. And then that's the thing. Like Justin is that he wants to fight for his coach that bad. Like he knew what was going on. So that's where it becomes very tough when you have, a couple people on the card because it'll drag along. And that was a huge mistake that I made as a coach. So I got to learn from that. But like the flow in New York, like nothing was going right with we had one of our coaches on Rose's team failed the test. He actually had to stay in a room for 2 weeks. So after we left home, he was stuck
right
there.
after COVID, right?
And I was like, dude, there's nothing going right. I burnt my foot with like boiling water prior to going to the event because my wife was sick. So I was staying in a hotel. So I came home and she's upstairs. I'm making a big bowl of homemade chicken noodle soup for her. And then I'd go back to the hotel and I was like trying to move fast and I'd move the water burnt through my Crocs. I had like circles where my Crocs were.
Yeah, because it feels perfect.
Totally. But there was like nothing going right. And then that night, everything went right. It was just, it was like perfect. But those type of challenges are so awesome.
Oh, yeah. You live for it at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And that's crazy, though. You said something interesting, though, about wrapping your hands. Whenever it comes to wrapping your fighter's hands, do you go more like kind of like boxing heavy with the wraps, or do you try to do like more like thin?
It's a mixture. So if I coached boxers all the way up to about 12 years ago, then I stepped away and just focused on MMA. But no, boxing hand wrap is way different than MMA.
Is it?
I want a little bit more risk give. Just 4 different positions of what I'm working in grappling. Yeah. There's not a lot of space in those gloves to be able to build a big pad. And it's a very much on how do I support the metacarpals and then also keep the tape and the spacing between the knuckles so my knuckles aren't breaking together for like ligament damage. So it's very much different with the MMA glove than a boxing glove.
Do your fighters have different styles, or do you just say, hey, we're gonna?
No, not really. In the MMA, like in boxing, I definitely did. I had different styles for each boxer.
Yeah.
Like Verno liked a very loose wrist and a lot of knuckle padding, and liked them narrow. Sometimes they like a lot of padding on the back of the hand where there's no wrist give.
Yeah.
And some people like to have their hands stuck in this position. Some people like to be able, like an MMA wrap, I allow them to be able to open their hand. But if you look at most boxers' hands, when they take their gloves off, their hands
like
are stuck in this
yeah.
position. So yeah, it's different for each sport.
It's super fascinating. It's a science at the end of the day.
And I'm an artist. I love that stuff. And
Yeah.
I take all that stuff so serious. That's why I wrap my hands. They have people that wrap your hands at the UFC, and I make sure I wrap my hands because there's nothing worse than someone just going fast because they're being pushed because they got to get to another person.
That's incredible. How hard was it mentally, though, going through that? Because you said, like, during those 2 weeks, it's difficult. There's a bunch of unknowns. How were you able to, like, stay present and get through that?
My wife. Yeah, it was really hard. At home, it was miserable. It was at the gym. I never showed it. I did talk to Justin about it. He was the one that told me to go into the doctor because I was just like, dude, I just have this crazy rash, and that's when I went out and found out I had the staph infection in my body, and it was just, but it was hard because I had to hide it, and I was getting no sleep, and me with no sleep, especially working out with these guys, is very tough. But from the mental standpoint, just overcoming something like that, and it makes you grateful. It makes you grateful in life because I was so close to not knowing what it was.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a serious disease? And I was seeing all sorts of specialists, but thank God Ollie hooked me up with that doctor. Now I have him I can come see who will take care of me. And in the system of healthcare, I felt like I was just getting pushed from one area. No one cared.
Yeah,
When I met with the doctor out here in Vegas, it was amazing. He cared about me. He's like, I'll do anything. I'll come to you if needed.
Wow.
And it's great when you have someone like that.
Yeah.
Because when you don't know, you don't know. And you're on a time limit of just going, all right, I got 2 weeks till I go to the next one. And
the unknown was the scariest part. Like for him when he was burning,
absolutely,
he had a 50% chance to survive. The unknown is like, okay, is he going to lose his life? Well, if he doesn't lose his life, is he going to have to breathe with some device? Is he not going to be able to see? Like the unknowns of healthcare are like really, really difficult. So that's why I was asking mentally, not only physically, but mentally, it's really, really hard. So
it really humbles you in life because time flies, and I can't believe I'm 50 right now. Like time flies. I've been coaching for 20 something years and almost close to 30 years now.
Wow.
It's time goes, and you start looking at the little things in life that really mean it, and it balances you to make sure you get the family time and not overwork. And I think a lot of times, and I feel it in this camp, my skin issues started coming back. It's funny that I don't feel stressed, but I know when we have these big moments, these big fights, or when a lot of issues happen to me, but I don't ever feel like stress, but internally. I'm stressing because I'm not going to show it to them. I'm not going to show it to them, to myself. It's just like, hey, this is part of the process. But it does really wear on you. Stress is a huge thing. So
stress can kill you.
Absolutely. And so taking care of yourself and just paying attention to little things. And again, the most important thing is being grateful for the little things that I have in life is what is such a blessing when you go through something like that.
Absolutely. Making the walk tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
World title fight.
Absolutely.
Such a blessing.
It's amazing. But I got to get on a little happier subject right here. I know you're big into the Red Rocks run that you do, right? All your fighters do it during camp. I actually saw Corey made it in 13 minutes.
Yeah. He beat the record, 13:26. Matt Lopez, one of my athletes from, he probably hasn't fought in 6 or 7 years. And he was the record holder, and Corey beat it. Corey has his best time in the 3 camps that we were doing the runs was 14:05, and he smashed it on that last day.
Wow.
And we had a conversation that I want you to prepare like this is a fight, and I want you to be able to push yourself on this run, get mentally prepared. And man, he nailed it. The way he took off. I was like, oh, he's starting way too fast. I was like, dude, you're starting way too fast. That's what I thought. I was like, no way. And then at the half turn, I always time that, and he was a minute ahead on the half turn, and I was like, holy cow, he's gonna nail it. Like Corey's mindset right now is just in a different place.
Wow. It's great to see going.
We might have to get out there and see how good we can
I want to see how much.
I am so confident. I respect Merab. Merab is a great champion. He's one of those guys that, again, that very, very much looks unbeatable. And Carrington Banks, our wrestling coach, has done a wonderful job with him. He is just getting better and better and better.
That's amazing.
And we're not going to run from the wrestling.
Ooh, I like that.
Stay
you
tuned.
can see it in his eyes this week. I see a little different Corey Sandhagen compared to the Sandhagen that
it's a mindset.
Peter Yan. It's a
he
mindset.
coached himself. It was crazy to me, and he started in my gym and through the coaches that I coach, which kind of bothers me. But it's like you have to have people have your back to help you do something. You know, fighters are you have to be selfish in that octagon, but most fighters are fighting for something. And when they have someone to fight for and someone that believes in them, when you get people that just keep backing you and not building you up, but making you work hard to believe in it, is a great thing. And man, we are super confident going into this fight.
Woo! Can't wait. Tomorrow night, baby. Tune in.
Let's go. Super
Trevor's
excited.
got another world title coming for him.
Be 27, right? You said?
Yep.
27.
Be 27. And I had told Banks, I'm big into numbers, and when we had the three guys fighting on the card, I had made these Onyx shirts, and it said "and new," and on the back it said "and still," and I just made it because it's a champion term, and Onyx represents champions. You know, that's why we're gold. And when I was out there, Chico, one of our coaches from Rose's thing, he's like, "What's your shirt say?" And I was like, "It says "and new," and he says the back says "and still," and he's like, "So Kamaru's gonna be and still." And Rose going to be and new. And I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize I was wearing it. Like, I didn't purposely wear it for that fight.
Yeah.
And then I rocked that shirt every day that whole week.
And
then on Saturday was my birthday's on the 27th.
Uh-huh.
And I turned 50, and I made everybody do push-ups for me. When I got up, I was like 50 push-ups for my birthday. Because I'm 50. Yeah. And I said, you know what? It's cool because my birthday's on the 27th. I just turned 50. And for my 50th birthday, let's get a 27th world title.
Ooh, I like that.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Coming in soon. Tomorrow night. Tune in. Whoa. Voice crack right there. Got a little too excited.
Oh my God.
That's a blooper. We'll leave that one in for you guys just because. But thank you so much, Trevor, for coming on the show. We always have a blast with you. Let them know where they can find you. Onyx, give it everything to them.
Onyx Sports, we just dropped a whole line of equipment. It sold out in 36 hours. I found out when I was out there with my wife. Everybody says that's a great problem. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming. All the premium stuff will be out in December. November, we're dropping our mid-tier stuff. This is our training, like full line pro training gear. Super cool. Coaches gear launches first quarter of 2026. And if you want to find us on Instagram, it's Onyx Labs. Go check us out.
You heard the man. Be sure to go check him out and all the wonderful gear coming in the future. And shoot, we might see an Onyx Lab get out here in Vegas.
Yes, I'm going to talk to you about that.
Ooh, I like that.
Stay tuned.
All right, we are out of this episode of Burn No Chill.
Peace.